Hey friends, it's Bailey with Reclaim Grace, and I am so happy you clicked on this video. Today we have some fun projects, some smaller ones, some larger items, but they all came out great. We're using some neutrals and some greens, of course, always going for that aged look. Y'all let me know which project ends up being your favorite, and let's go ahead and get started. Hey friends, let's jump on into this first project, which is this cute little oval mirror. I think it kind of like sits on a vanity or something, and you can put like your rings or jewelry in it, like a little catch tray at the bottom of it. I have not thrifted one of these before, so I was super excited when I found it at a yard sale for $5. We're going to get this piece cleaned up and go ahead and take that mirror insert out so we don't have to worry about working around it. And then I'm going to take it outside and give it 2 coats of this shellac base primer. As that primer is drying, I'm going to mix up some milk paint. I'm going to use about 50-50 of antique ironstone and flour sack. And then I'll do a little bit less water than 50-50 ratio, just so my mixture is a bit thicker than usual. I'm going to mix that together well, set it to the side, and let it thicken up. And now it's time to paint. I'm going to apply a thick coat. I did 2 coats on both parts of our little vanity mirror. I decided to go with thicker coats because I was really wanting some larger cracks on this piece. But as I'm painting this, once I got this painted, like, it sat. I did not know what I wanted to do with it. I definitely wanted to add something else, and I was super, super close to just throwing some, like, cute transfers on it. And then I was just looking at it, and it's just crazy how it hits us at, like, random moments, right? I said, no, I want to add a mold. So I grabbed out a new mold. This is Reefs and Swags by IOD. I love this mold. If y'all have used this on other projects, please let me know because I am in love with this mold since I've used it. I'm going to dust it well with cornstarch, warm up some IOD air dry clay, and then I'm just going to start squishing that into the mold using my thumbs to scrape off the excess. Using that micro rim really helps you get that flat, clean back. I'm going to flip it over and let gravity help that casting fall out. Sometimes you do got to kind of coax it along and help it a little bit, but most of the time it will come right out as you're peeling the mold away from the casting. I casted 4 of those little swag pieces and one of the ribbons. And now it's time to glue it down. I'm going to use some Titebond Quick and Thick. You do not have to put this much glue on it. I'm always an over gluer, so I have to worry about squeeze out. Whenever I get it smooshed down into place, I'll just take a paintbrush and a baby wipe or a Q-tip or a picking tool to get that glue up while it is still wet. It's much easier to deal with then and then instead of letting it dry to deal with it. So I'm going to get all these pieces glued down. This cute little ribbon right here has my heart, but man, it is a tedious piece. It will break on you, but that is no worries. Just glue it right back down. Now it's time to paint the castings. I let it dry for about 10 minutes just to kind of form a crust layer over top of it, but the clay is still fresh. I watered down my milk paint just a little bit to make it flow into those nooks and crannies a bit easier. And now, since that is dry, we're going to seal up this milk paint with some Sweet Pickins dark oil wax. I just love this stuff. It's super easy and it just makes such a difference. I just use a old chip brush that I have wrapped up in a Ziploc bag. I use the same brush for every project, and then I'll just chunk it and grab a new one when it gets old. I'm going to distress the piece a little bit and then oil wax the bottom of our vanity mirror as well. And then I decided, I let that sit and soak in, kind of marinate for about 10 or 15 minutes. Then I took this blue lint-free shop rag and wiped off any of the excess oil. Be careful that you don't leave any fingerprints. I like to hold with one and wipe with the other. And then I just wanted to add just a touch of gold to that ribbon. And that is it for this sweet project. I love how it came out. The crackle is amazing, and that mold was the perfect touch to the oval mirror. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this project. I priced it for $27. Moving on to our next project, I found this Birdhouse cabinet at a restore in New Bern, North Carolina, and I had never seen anything like it. It was $40, but I did get 20% off of it, and that is a bit much for something I would pay for, but since it is so unique, I went ahead and picked it up. You can see it already kind of has a crackle finish to it. So yeah, and it has like this hand painting on the front that we definitely need to sand down. We need to go ahead and scuff sand everything, but definitely work on the areas that were hand painted so that doesn't come through our new finish. This piece is made out of MDF, so it's not real wood. So when it came to cleaning it, I just used a very lightly damp rag to wipe the piece down. It's not like it was dirty, just getting off the sanding dust, really, because you do not want to wet that MDF because it will swell up and then you'll have a whole nother set of problems. All right, so our first layer is going to be a texture layer. So I grabbed out some salt wash and some Carriage House Fusion mineral paint. This is all-in-one paint. It's old. It was in my stash. I needed to get it used, so it was the perfect paint to use as a base layer. I'm going over the body of the birdhouse. I'm staying off the roof and the base and just the exterior. I'm not messing with the interior of our birdhouse today. It was in really good condition. But adding this texture, one, it's going to create texture. Two, it's going to hide any of that hand painting details that would have came through our finish, and cover up that crackle on the sides so it doesn't look so fake looking. I want to create my own crackle. Once that layer was dry, I'm going to come in with a paintbrush I do not mind throwing away, and I'm going to add a layer of paint on shellac. This is just a clear primer. It's going to seal up that textured paint. Even though Fusion is an all-in-one paint, I just went and did this extra step just to make sure I can get some crackle. As that is drying, I'm going to mix up some milk paint. I went with that same mixture from the first project, equal parts antique ironstone and flour sack. Before we come in with our milk paint, I'm going to use a beeswax bar, and I'm going to run it along the edges of the door, and then whenever I run it on the flat surfaces, the beeswax bar is going to hit all the texture we created. So we'll be able to sand those areas back later. I went a little heavy with this in some areas and light in other areas. I did want this piece to look pretty chippy looking. And now it's time for another layer. Here is our 50-50 mixture of milk paint. I am loving this color. It's just the perfect white. I'm really digging this 50-50 mixture. But either way, we're going to go ahead and get this section, the outer section of the birdhouse painted on all sides. It took might as well say 3 coats for good coverage.
Trying to keep my eyes open. The generator's busted and the AC's broken. I'm talking to the Lord, hope he helps us
Now that our coverage is looking good, it's time to take some paint off. I know, make that make sense. I'm using a 220 grit sandpaper here. I have my orbital sander on a low setting, and I'm just going to sand over the whole piece. Really making sure I'm hitting those areas I applied the wax to, because the wax needs to come off, and plus that's where the chippiness is going to happen. So I'm just going to go over the whole piece though and knock some of that texture back too, and this is going to give us that chippy look. Alrighty, so for the base, I wanted a wood look. So I'm painting one coat of clay. Let's just like a taupey brown color is Clay by Alchemy. I'm going to do one coat. I'm going to keep my brush strokes going in one direction though. That's very important. And I'm going to cut in around the edges, just a nice stopping point. I'm going to open the doors and kind of just clean that area up and then cut in around the sides. I started to do the same thing for the roof, but then I changed my mind and I grabbed a green color. I think this is Noel by Fusion, and I went ahead and painted the roof in this green color. Spoiler alert, it doesn't stay this color either. Now that my base is dry, I'm going to come back to it and add a glaze. This is, I don't know what glaze I'm using. Maybe Paint Couture's Van Dyke Brown Antique and Glaze, probably. But as you can see, you just apply it in sections, and then you use a broom to create that texture of a wood grain look. You can swipe it many times, just back and forth, back and forth. You can pounce it. You can turn the broom the narrower direction and create some more harder strokes, but it looks just like wood grain. I love this technique. Jumping back to the roof, I just did not like that color, so I had some greens, chalk paints. I mixed a couple colors together and came up with this, and I think it fits the piece much better. It's more springy than that Noel color. And one of the last steps is I had this grapevine reef. I love adding these smaller reefs over holes to Birdhouse. I think it just adds like a charm to it. I don't know. I just love it. So I hot glued that down first before coming in and using antique and wax to seal up the milk paint. If I would have waxed first, that hot glue probably wouldn't have stuck to the surface. So that's why I did it that direction. I'm using antique and wax here. No, I'm sorry, agent wax here. But if it comes out too dark, I'm dipping my rag in a little bit of clear wax to buff it out a little bit. And it will kind of work as an eraser. But this is just so my vibe. Look at all that yumminess right there. I went ahead and did the whole piece. And I did distress the roof a little bit. But y'all, isn't this just super cute? Let me know what you think about it. I priced it for $147. And I just love it. Y'all let me know what y'all think.
In the morning from 7 to 9, but we just can't seem to wake up in time. Grab a cup of coffee and we're off to hit the road. Now we're running on fumes, no time to kill. We got one more show and it's a shitty door deal. Breaking my back just to make a couple.
Our next makeover is this cute, sweet, I think this is maybe an antique table. It's definitely old. It has a drawer out in the front and these two side leaves that work. I picked this up at a yard sale for, I believe, $8. Really good deal. Solid wood. I'm going to start by giving it a good sand. This piece was dirty. I probably should have even cleaned it before coming in and sanding it, but I didn't. Either way, we're sanding it now. All areas need a really good scuff sand. It had some paint drips on this piece, so we're making sure we're working those out as well.
Sleeping on the floor, I'm hurting in the morning from a
And now we're going to come in and clean. I have some warm soapy water here and a little scrub pad, and it needed some elbow grease in some areas, especially around these legs. So either way, we're going to give it a really good sand, and then we're going to come in with a rag and rinse everything off to get rid of that soap residue. Working with a solid wood piece, you don't have to worry about water too much. So I'm not being stingy with the soapy water. It will dry out. But if this was an MDF piece, you definitely couldn't clean it like this. All right, we're going for layers again. So I grabbed out some Oakham Fusion paint. This is pretty old. I need to get it used. And I'm just going to pretty much paint the edges and just some spots here and there. Definitely hit the areas around the legs that I plan to sand back to later. I just want it to have different tones whenever I'm distressing this piece later. So we'll have the white, we'll have the raw wood, and then we'll have this darker color coming through our distressing and hopefully our chippiness and crackle finish. Starting with the piece flipped over on my work surface, we're going to start priming the underneath side with some paint on shellac base primer. I need to get me another can of this. I have really enjoyed painting on this primer because you can put it up there thicker and you just don't have to do as many coats as doing or using the spray kind. So yeah, and it dries super fast. We're going to go ahead and prime the whole table. I let this dry and then I flipped it over and primed the top side. And I'm going to give the base a nice healthy layer too. My plan was to branch out, try a new mixture. So I did equal parts basil in the pickle and olive. And y'all, it's not that I didn't like this color green, but it's just not what I was looking for. So I used this on another project and mixed up my tried and true, which is artichoke and olive equal parts. And I mixed that up and now it's thickening up. Before coming in with that first layer of milk paint, I'm going to come in again with my beeswax bar and hit those edges, all the little details on the spindle legs, and some areas on the flat surfaces as well. Breakfast in the morning from 7 to 9, but we just can't seem to wake up in time. Grab a cup of coffee and we're off to hit the road. Now we're running on fumes, no time to kill. We got one more show. I did 3 coats on this piece, drying in between each layer with my heat gun to really force that crackle effect, and we got some good crackle, y'all, good crackle. And once I got this section painted, I would move the base over to the side so I could flip over the tabletop and get that side as well. And then don't forget the beeswax bar. Sometimes when I'm working on 2 sides of a project, I'll forget to apply the beeswax bar on the second side. But luckily this time I did not. So we're going to do that really quick and then add our milk paint. My sweet mama was over here helping me create a velvet ribbon bow for this little bassinet that I had thrifted. And then Roscoe comes in, look, right here. He's like, Mima, or he calls her Mimi. Mimi, here's my bone. He likes to show Mama his treats. I don't know. It's just like freaking precious. Either way, back to the project. We did 3 layers on the top side of the table too. Again, drying with the heat gun in between each layer.
Breaking my back just to make a couple more. Yeah, it's another hotel room, sleeping on the floor.
And I feel like y'all know the process by now. We're going to come in with a 220 grit sandpaper and sand that milk paint back, revealing that brown, some white, some raw wood in some areas around the spindle, and I just loved how this finish turned out.
From the night before, pay my dues, I'm eating up the road, I'm coming home, baby, leave the porch light on.
Now it's time to put the piece back together permanently. It has some fasteners on the underside of the tabletop that fits in this like dado cut around the base of the table. So it just fits in that slot, and then it has screws on the tabletop side that you tighten up, and it just pinches the piece together and it holds it very securely. This works well with solid wood pieces because it allows for wood movement in different seasons. That's how you know this table was old, because like people were smart back then. They don't make it like that these days. We're going to do some hand sanding on the legs to have a little bit more control than using the electric sander. And then we're going to get rid of all that sanding dust, and it's time to seal this piece up.
Driving through the night, trying to keep my eyes open. The generator's busted and the AC's broken. I'm talking to the Lord, hope He helps us get there safe. And we made it to the show, now we're singing to the crowd. We're playing encore and they're screaming real loud. Try to get home early, but I know that ain't the case. Yeah, it's another.
My mom has had 2 of these chairs for a while. They were given to me. I gave them to her, and she just didn't want them anymore. And I felt like they would be the perfect addition to this table. So I'm going to scuff sand just this wood insert piece, sand it well. It was very slick. Clean that sand and dust up, and then I'm going to prime it with 1 coat of shellac, and then add a couple layers of our milk paint, and then we're going to clear it, seal it, wax it, whatever you want to call it, the same way as we did our tabletop with Fusion's Agent Wax. And I just love how this piece turned out. If my kitchen wasn't my stock area, I would have kept this for myself. I love how this piece turned out. Y'all let me know what you think. I priced the table for $127 and the chairs for $27 a piece. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this one. And there's the bassinet at the bottom on the floor that Mama was making the velvet ribbon for. And that is all I have for y'all today, my friends. I really hope you enjoyed these thrifted makeovers. Be sure to let me know what you think down in the comments. If you got any inspiration from today's video, hit that like button and consider subscribing if you have not already. Thank y'all for hanging out with me today. I'll talk to you in the comments. Bye.